Fashion and entertainment television on MeCo TV. I am Juliana J. Bolin. In studio today, Jacqueline Mgido, Hollywood makeup artist extraordinaire, beauty entrepreneur, owner of the Jacqueline Mgido cosmetic line. She's going to talk to us about what her life was like when she began to visualize a life in Hollywood while living in Zimbabwe, where she grew up. Jacqueline, talk to us. This sounds like an amazing time to have been you, a little girl with a dream.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here.
Yours. The pleasure's ours.
This is exciting. I love this. I love that we're just going to be talking about everything.
Oh, we've got a lot to talk about for sure. I really am fascinated by the idea of you in this country, visualizing your life another ocean away. Mm-hmm. How old were you at the time, and what sparked those dreams?
So I was about 9 years old, and my dad was a very interesting man. He was always very strict with us. You know, you stayed indoors, you weren't allowed to go to people's homes, stay and, play with animals, because I grew up on...
You could do anything you want as long as I could see you right here.
As long as I could see you. I was very protective. And TV for me was my world.
Yes.
I would always watch Soul Train, I would watch Dynasty, and I would watch Dallas. I mean, I'm aging myself, right? And I was always in it. I always imagined myself in there and imagined myself either doing the makeup or acting. But for me, the insecurities of my own looks got me to thinking, how do they look the way they look on TV?
Okay.
And that was fascinating for me.
So you mentioned Soul Train and Dynasty and your insecurities. So I take it, once you started to see all of these different people, some of which looked a lot like you, because on Soul Train, you had fair complected and you had dark skinned beauties.
Yes.
Somewhere you saw yourself in there?
I did, especially on Soul Train. I saw more of artists on Soul Train. And because we grew up in a very conservative society, Soul Train was an escape for me, because I wanted to dress like how they dress like, but I wasn't allowed to do that. So what I would do is I would watch Soul Train and imagine myself and kind of, have an illusion of how I was dressing and kind of confuse my dad a little bit. I would take it and meet, Soul Train versus Zimbabwe in the middle.
We were discussing how your perception of beauty has changed from when you were visualizing being in Hollywood while in Zimbabwe to actually being in Hollywood.
Education is key.
Okay.
So I remember when I was back home and all the insecurities because of the perception that at that time the media gave, or our perception of how we look at ourselves.
And the media can teach us whether we are beautiful 100%. Or not beautiful.
Yeah, your definition. Somebody comes into your country and says, well, the definition of beauty is a pointy nose and light. And I came here and I went to school in Burbank, and it's a makeup school. And it basically taught me to understand why we put on makeup.
And what is the name of the school?
MUD, Makeup Designery.
Makeup Designery.
It's one of the best makeup schools you could ever go to.
Okay.
The education of $30,000 later.
It's paying off.
$30,000 later. It taught me why we put on makeup. And that made me understand what beauty is. So, for example, I can just look at anybody. The first thing I look at when I look at them is what makes them beautiful. And every single person, there is something that makes them beautiful. And then from there, it evolved to how do we make that person see their beauty in defining that particular thing that stands out on their faces.
At this school, what is the first thing that they teach you that you can remember? What was the first thing that you learned at makeup school?
That there's no color. A face is a face, there's no color. That changed everything for me. It's all about structure, highlights and shadows, and it's all about bringing out, because people, human beings, we are very unique. beings. We want to see texture. We want to see highlights and shadows. I mean, you can take a little kid, and if they see something bright, they get excited, right? Because they can actually
Things that are bright, things that shine.
articulate what it is that they're seeing. So when something is bland, the reason why people just kind of, back up from it is because they don't understand what they see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with this knowledge, you then began to conquer Hollywood, and it all just blew up in a week, right? And then you just your phone started ringing off the hook immediately.
Yeah, of course.
That overnight success.
I was sitting at home. Definitely not.
If that wasn't the case, then what was the first show where you felt it was a great break for you?
So I worked on this really low budget movie with Orlando Jones. Remember the 7-Up guy?
I do.
Yeah, Orlando Jones.
Well, the 7-Up guy who also became, he's a wonderful, very
sci-fi.
well-known working actor.
He's amazing. And I did that job for free. And I remember the director fell in love with me because I gave it my all. Because to me, I was taught that when you are working for anything for free, you can afford to make mistakes on somebody else's budget, right? You can do everything to your ability. If you make that mistake, that is on somebody else's budget. So right there, I wasn't scared to do everything that I wanted to do. And that was work my ass off and also show that director that I can do anything. That was like one of the first movies that I was like, okay, I've arrived.
Well, you said something that we should really call out for everyone watching this. She said, I wasn't scared to do everything that I wanted to do. So basically, you shook off all fear of making mistakes, all fear of what anybody else thought, since you were there and you had the opportunity
to do it.
What happens though when you do make the mistake and you have to deal with your fear on set and having to fix it? Can you think of a time on any particular set that you had a challenge that you had to think quick and correct?
My God. I remember the same director that gave me this opportunity, he took out a loan out of his house for $500,000. And this is like 15 years ago. That was a big deal.
Wow.
And we were doing this movie and he put his all. And anybody that understands taking out a loan and putting it into any form of art is a big deal. And he put his faith in everything. And I remember I wasn't really getting paid that much, but I was getting paid something. And we were doing what we call blood tubing, where somebody gets stabbed and the blood has to shoot out. And you have to do blood tubing. And I'd learned it in school and gone over it in my head. And I had hired my friends to come and work with me who weren't paying attention in my makeup class, right? And they messed up the job. But I had to take responsibility because I was the head department. And I remember...
How on earth?
Oh my God, it was horrible. I remember... the cameraman was shooting. It was a big deal because he had all these actors who had really set their minds on, the death of one of the people, right? So they had to go there mentally. A lot of people don't understand that. Actors have to go there mentally and they go to really dark places for it to actually come out and be believable on camera. So everybody's tense because it's one shot. It's a low budget movie, it's one shot. They've got one outfit and you have to make it work. And I remember the cameraman, he was like, are you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. And the director's like, are you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then all of a sudden they were like, action. They stabbed, no blood came out. It was supposed to squirt out. The blood came out in a different direction. And people were screaming, we're out in the desert. And I was like, oh my God, I'll never work in Hollywood ever again in my whole entire life.
How did that resolve?
Because the director understood my work ethic. Because I remember I'd worked with him before. He was pissed, really upset at me. But I think he just saw that I didn't do it on purpose. And he understood the team that I had hired, that I had a lesson to learn. That don't hire your friends. Don't hire friends on things. It's a big thing. You might love them. Don't hire your family either. If the person's not experienced in whatever they're doing, they're not going to work for you. They're going to cost you. And if the director didn't see my work ethic before, I wouldn't be working in Hollywood.
That's definitely one to marinate on.
Oh, yeah.
Because most people, they think hire your friends, hire your family.
The worst.
Because there's a who you know thing. So there's a balance to be struck then.
100%.
You have to evaluate perhaps the people that you might know a little bit harder.
Well, they have to prove their work ethic.
They have to prove.
Yeah.
Because they can cost you as these friends costed you.
Yeah, for sure.
That's, well, needless to say that you learned your lesson and you've gone on to other tremendous projects. So talk to us about some of the series, movies, if you will, that our audience would know, and ones that you've got coming out.
Yes. So it's interesting because as a makeup artist in Hollywood, there's different genres. It's either you get into TV, or it's either, because there's like all these game shows, and I mean we all in different categories. And it just so happened that for the past couple of years I was mostly in the Food Network industry. As you know, chefs are the celebrities right now.
Yes.
The Bobby Flays of the world, and the Gonacellas of the world, they're all there. So I've been doing a lot of food shows, like most of the Food Network shows that you see, like Hollywood Baking Championship, all those are pretty much most of my shows. I've been heading departments for those shows for quite a while.
Oh, I've been enjoying your work and had no idea.
Thank you.
Love Food Network.
Oh, it's amazing. It's all over. It's every single time I'm at the airport, I'm like looking and I'm like, oh my God, that's my show. That's my show. And of course, doing a couple of music videos and awards. I did the Oscars, I did the Emmys, and.
Well, wait a minute. Going back to the Food Network family, the Food Network, HGTV, all those sorts of things.
Yes.
They're getting off into some other forms of programming. And did you have anything to do with this Brady Bunch film coming up?
Yes, heading the department.
Well, I'm sorry, is it a film or series?
So
what happened was it came up in the news.
Yes.
That Lance Bass from NSYNC was trying to buy the house, and HGTV ended up buying the house because they wanted to do something special with the Brady Bunch.
So what they're doing is they basically bought the house and they bought the Brady Bunch together. And if anybody's in the TV world, and if you didn't know, most of the time when they say, well, that's the house that they filmed this movie at, they never shoot inside, they only shoot the outside,
the exterior.
And then you go to the studio, and then this is where the house is. So what they've taken is everything that you grew up with in the Brady Bunch house. They're now renovating that whole house. By the way, which is the second visited house in Hollywood, is the Brady Bunch house. So they've taken that house, they're renovating everything. They brought the whole cast together. And now you'll be able to go in and take tours and envision yourself at the Brady Bunch house. Isn't that amazing?
Well, speaking of envisioning, was this one of the shows that you may have seen when you were a kid? Because the Brady Bunch, they would run episodes of I think the show aired originally sometime, I think in maybe the 60s or so.
Yeah.
But by the time in the 70s, 80s, it was on television in America every single day.
Oh, we watched the Brady Bunch in Africa. I even remember the theme song. The Brady Bunch. Dun, 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 dun. And then to see them, I was like, wait, what? This is Marsha. I saw Marsha. You doing makeup on Marsha. It's amazing. For me, every single time I'm
Did you realize at the moment when you were doing her makeup that you were having a moment that you might have dreamed of?
You know what? It's when she was outside and I was touching her up. She had come with her makeup done and we're touching her. And in my head, I heard myself going, Marsha. And then I was like, man, this is crazy. This is like such an out-of-body experience, because you're taking this African girl, right? You're taking this African girl, she comes to Hollywood, and the next minute she's working on what would be called the American history. It's the Brady Bunch. That's crazy.
Yeah, that trajectory alone is a tale of Hollywood proportions.
Oh.
And I'm just I'm honored to meet you and celebrate your journey with you.
Thank you.
I have to ask though, since you have now officially made it in Hollywood, there's some other things that you're doing where someone may not even think you'd have the time. You've created your own makeup line.
Yes.
These are things that some people can have, and that's one dream is enough. Now you have two.
Yes. So
Talk about why this. Number one, why did you create the line? And you've created the line with an eye toward helping your fellow citizens in Zimbabwe.
I remember I came back to the States and I said, you know what, I want to start a makeup brand, and had no idea how to start a makeup brand, but I knew that you could brand. You could put your name. There's only a certain amount of factories, right? You put your name on there and then you sell it. And I remember doing that in the beginning because that's the cheapest way to do it. But I felt like a fraud.
I see.
Because I would go to these factories and say, listen, this is the deal. We make you makeup and I want to sell it in Africa. But the problem is I feel like it's a little ashy, and I'll never forget this. I remember there was one manufacturer that said to me, Jackie, I know you have this dream of having this makeup line and taking it to Africa, but this is the deal. We cannot make makeup for Africans or black people because black people don't buy. White people buy. And I was like, what? And I was kind of like offended at first.
How long ago was this?
This was 8 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'd gone to a convention. He was nice though. I mean, he was very nice, but he said to me, I want you to think like a businesswoman. And I
He
said,
thought he was doing you a favor.
But he was. He was. He was telling the truth. The reason why he was saying black people didn't buy is because black people didn't understand makeup, and we still don't. It's only the influence of stars that have gotten us to think we understand makeup, because we don't even understand why we're putting it on. So when he said this to me, he was like, look, this is the deal. You understand what's put in makeup. You have variations of darker skin. If I'm in a factory and I'm making makeup for darker skinned women, I have to put probably 4, 6, 8 colors to just make one color. And for a certain section. For white people, I'm just putting 2, 3 colors, good to go. And guess what? White people have, or lighter skinned people, they've been educated. They've been exposed to this from when they were younger. So of course they're gonna buy because they know it. We intimidated because we get there and we're like, what the hell is this? I don't even know what this is. So of course you're not gonna buy.
And people who are darker are told things like, why are you gonna put, you can't put that bright color on.
Absolutely.
Those lips.
Yeah.
So when you are told from the beginning
100% you're
that
not
what
gonna
you
buy
can't do, it's a negative, you aren't welcome, and any darker person of any self-esteem, they're not going to want to go where they're not welcome.
Right. And what I realized too is also the makeup they were making was makeup that was not weather adaptable. That was a big thing for me. A very big thing for me. Because I would look at some of the ingredients and I would look at some of the makeup. By the time I would put on this makeup, when I was in Africa, it would be melting off, and I would look like the makeup is wearing me. And so, again, visualizing, praying, I found a chemist.
Where did you find this chemist?
In LA. It was crazy because I remember when I would go to different chemists, it costs you about $10,000 per product to develop, and that's without containers or anything.
How long does it take before you have a product that is in the customer's hand or stores? And where can we buy?
So the first product that we did, we were working on lip stains, and at that time lip stains weren't even that popular. And then we were working on foundation for the skin, and it's taken us 4 years to perfect this foundation because it's a water-based foundation. It's an adaptable foundation. And I didn't want a lot of chemicals in the foundation. So this was really, really interesting. And so what was interesting about Zimbabwe is they were patient with me. I didn't have the right containers, but I did have the product. So within these years, you know, everybody's like, listen, we're going to be patient. So every single time I'd go to Zimbabwe and say, hey guys, I don't really have the right containers, but what I do is have a product that works for you. And so we now have expanded into Kenya. We've expanded into Uganda. We just did a soft launch in the UK. We do a lot of pop-ups in South Africa. Okay. And now Amazon is selling some of my stuff, which is amazing. And we have a website, JackieMgido.com.
What a fantastic story. So I have to ask, since you have made such incredible inroads into supplying all these women around the world with your line, which is vastly different, I would imagine. The makeup of this makeup is vastly different, and when they put it on, they'll feel good about themselves, and it's an eco-friendly, natural product that'll be good to the skin. Do you have any thoughts about the way some women, not only in Africa, but in India and other places, go for like skin bleaching and things like that? Because it sounds like if you have the right products, skincare, makeup, and otherwise, maybe you could learn to love the skin you're in without bleaching.
100%. You know, it's interesting, this whole bleaching phenomenon, right? I wanted to understand why darker skinned women bleach. And I went back to school, and I went back to where I was teaching. And the biggest thing is everybody wants to be noticed. Everybody wants to be seen. A lot of the times when you approach somebody who is darker, you don't really see them until you get to really go closer to notice them. And for me, I realized it wasn't because they wanted to be a different nationality. It's because they wanted to be seen. So my biggest thing is, why not educate the darker skinned woman and say, okay, I understand why you want to bleach. It's because you want to be noticed too. So how about we help you enhance the features so they can be seen, whether it be your eyes, whether it be your eyebrows, whether it be your cheeks, whether it be your lips, because by putting on colors, you are now drawing them out so that people can see how beautiful they look.
And do you, well, let me ask you this. What's your favorite way to relax, and like your favorite, what does that look like? What's your favorite, what are you eating? What's your favorite meal? What music is playing? How does Jackie like create her world of Zen?
So my world of Zen, I'm blessed enough to live by the beach. So I do a lot of running up the hill, and I go to the beach and I sit there and I talk to God. And music for me is a big escape. Okay. You know, when I feel like I need to be in a certain state of mind, I go to my Pandora, get my mindset there, and then that puts me into a positive state. And then I call a girlfriend of mine, one or two girlfriends, and we laugh. I love to laugh. We think of something. Everything is always funny. Even at funerals, I think of something funny. The other day I went to a funeral and I was looking for a husband for a friend of mine, and I was Instagramming it. And I was like, hey, you have to find life everywhere. And it just became a joke. So it's just what it is.
Find life even at a funeral.
Find life even at a funeral, because you're living, correct? So you have to find life at there. So everything is funny.
Well, that's what your advice is making me think that, do you have a book written already? Or because if you don't, you need to write one with all these tips that you've given us.
I hope so.
Well,
one day. I need a ghostwriter. I'm terrible at writing.
We've talked about some other bits of advice that cover how you started in makeup. And one thing I want to make sure our people understand is the skill set difference between beauty makeup, special effects makeup, and what those aspiring to do these things need to do to master both of them.
Absolutely. You know, in the world of YouTube University, one of the things that we don't get taught at YouTube University is that you don't become a star overnight. And your skill does not happen overnight just because you're watching it on YouTube. It's tenacity, practice, and understanding what you're doing. So a lot of people don't understand that in this makeup world, there's different genres. You know, it's either you do wedding makeup, it's either you do office makeup, it's either you do fashion makeup, it's either you do special effects makeup. Even within the special of makeup, there's special effects makeup. And it's either you do character makeup, it's either you do beauty makeup. I mean, there's so much to this world. You know, there's YouTube makeup where you're basically selling products. So that's the YouTube type of makeup, which is completely different to the real world type of makeup. You know, real type of makeup world, you're using 3 things. YouTube, reality, you're using a lot of things because they're selling.
Yes.
So it's a whole different genre. So you really have to sit down and say, do I want to be a YouTube type of makeup? Do I want to be a TV type of makeup? Or do I want to be a realist type of makeup artist?
Well, there's a lot. Thank you for giving everybody some good clues where to get started on their own journey.
Yes.
And I would say the last thing I would love to ask you, because you are a quintessential global person in my eyes, born in Africa, working in America. I'm sure I've seen other corners of the world. What's your favorite place to go to, and what's beautiful about it?
For me, I'm terrified with flying. But honestly, my comfort is up there when I'm flying. You know, it's the lifting off, the landing freaks me out, it's the bouncing. But there's some serenity when I am in the sky. I feel like I'm a little closer to God and I can talk to Him a little bit more. And there's a vulnerability to the fact that I have no control whatsoever. And to me, it's up there where I can negotiate. It's my negotiation stage.
You sound like, I have a fear of this thing, but if we're up here and it's working, I'm good.
Yes. Because I can never say that this country is better than this country, or that's my favorite place, because as everybody knows, when I'm in a certain country, I always find a space there where I love it. Like if you follow my Instagram, you know, I was just in Zimbabwe a couple of days ago, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. There were things there. I was looking at the trees. Everything was just so beautiful. All of a sudden I land and I went for a jog and I was by the beach and I was like, oh my God, I love LA. You know, so it's so much. Like, so my space is at that space when I'm really thinking and connecting with God and connecting to the things that are around me.
Well, there you have it. Jackie Mgido's favorite destination is everywhere.
Yes, there you go.
We've been so blessed to have this amazing artist here on MeCo TV, and I want everyone to go to her website, check out the products, and buy gifts for any and everyone. JackieMgido.com is, well, why don't you spell it? Because it's your name. And
JACQUEMGIDO. So if you just put that in on Google, everything comes up. Instagram, Twitter, you name it, all the platforms.
If you are not following Jackie Mgido on Instagram, you are absolutely doing your life wrong. Need to correct that. While you're there, also follow MeCo TV, MECO_TV, across all social platforms. Thank you for joining us. See you next time. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, MeCo TV, and thank you. You're amazing.